Hello and welcome to the Book Show on Diversity Television. I'm Ava Colopy, a writer of fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. My work often focuses on the lived experience of social issues. We are in Ireland today, the land of literature and academia. And today I'm going to talk to you about this book right here. A Splendid Exchange, How Trade Shaped the World, by William J. Bernstein. Now, this is because it's an extremely important subject, because global capitalism is what drove colonialism, actually. There was also missionary work, Christian missionaries, some of whom meant well, others who did not mean so well. But missionary work was often kind of more an excuse to be there, or something that looked good for the public, for the media to say, oh, that's why we're there. It's because of Christian things. But the real driving force behind colonialism was this financial drive of trade, financial gain. And for some it was the thrill of adventure, obviously. And not just men, but also young women who would dress in men's clothes and then they would go on these adventures. Now, this book focuses less on the adventure side of it, but it was an incredible adventure, traveling around the world to unknown places and then not knowing what you were going to find. Anyway, in truth, none of us can really understand the world as it is today unless we understand colonialism. And the story of colonialism is really about trade and exploitation of resources and of people. So this and the pursuit of energy is what was driving human progress. And for as much as many people like to decry capitalism today for various reasons, some valid, some not so valid, the world as we know it today would not have happened and turned out the way it is now without this capitalism, this trade, and all of that as a driving force. So I'm going to read a short excerpt from the introduction, 2 little pieces. And for the record, and for all future episodes, this is an indie artistic project, so we're not endorsed by any of the authors or publishing houses or anything like that. And we do respect copyright, so if we're reading an excerpt, it's going to be a short excerpt from a book, or if we read something else, it might be that it's in the public domain because it's been out long enough. So we're just going to read small pieces. Like for illustrative purposes, I'll read to you just a little bit of the introduction. Christopher Columbus' second voyage would turn the agriculture and the economies of both the Old World and the New World upside down. Columbus's 17 vessels were Iberian Noah's Arks, carrying the New World around 1,300 colonists and nearly the entire Western inventory of crops and domesticated animals. They spread like wildfire. Even exchanges of minor crops, squashes, pumpkins, papaya, guava, avocado, pineapple, and cocoa from the Western Hemisphere, and grapes, coffee, and a battery of fruit and nut trees from Europe, assumed major economic importance. Of all the plant and animal passages on the second expedition, none had more immediate impact than the pig. Far closer in appearance and temperament to the mean, lean, fast wild boar than to the modern farm hog, and capable of transforming 20% of feed weight into protein, versus only 6% for cattle, these prolific herbivores fed voraciously on the New World's plentiful tropical grasses, fruits, and roots. Further, large predators had nearly disappeared from both North and South America following the arrival of the first Native Americans. And no serious diseases threatened the animals. In such a paradise, the pigs soon became independent of the expedition's swine herds and multiplied swiftly, not only on Hispaniola, the subject of the 1493 expedition, the island containing modern-day Haiti and Dominican Republic, but also on Cuba and Puerto Rico, and on many smaller Caribbean islands. The Spaniards soon found that tossing a breeding pair of the animals onto a promising uninhabited island guaranteed an abundance of pork there within a few years. In such an agreeable habitat, not only pigs, but also horses and cattle thrived without human intervention. And obviously they didn't have an understanding of how this would destroy ecosystems because humans didn't really have that knowledge yet. So, corn and potatoes not only allowed Europe to escape from the deadly jaws of the Malthusian trap, but directly stimulated trade. At the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, these crops provided Europeans with excess food to exchange for manufactured goods and freed agricultural laborers for more productive manufacturing. So this freed them up for the Industrial Revolution. The increased crop yields in turn created a vast demand for fertilizer, which was initially met by stripping Latin American and Pacific islands of guano. That is bat waste. Similarly, the introduction of yams, corn, tobacco, and peanuts into China allowed the newly ascendant Qing dynasty to expand its influence in the 17th and 18th centuries. And that's actually a separate history, which is not gone into extensively in this book, but it's very interesting history about China as we get into the Opium Wars with Britain and eventually the Empress Dowager Cixi, who, like Cleopatra in a lot of ways, has been vilified a lot, as most strong women throughout history end up getting vilified. They could be obviously very difficult figures, but they were no worse than their male contemporaries in the same environment of those sort of royal palace places, and with all the backstabbing and intrigue that went on there. And they were not as bad as some of their male contemporaries. So Empress Dowager Cixi is a subject unto herself for some other time, but she was amazing. Globalization, it turns out, was not one event or even a sequence of events. It is a process that has been slowly evolving for a very, very long time. The world did not abruptly become flat with the invention of the internet, and commerce did not suddenly, at the end of the 20th century, become dominated by large corporations with worldwide reach. Beginning at the dawn of recorded history with high-value cargoes, then slowly expanding into less precious and more bulky and perishable goods, the markets of the old world have gradually become more integrated. And actually, as they get into this book, they mention the Dutch and British East India Company, which was basically a multinational before we had the term multinational. With the first European voyages to the New World, this process of global integration accelerated. Today's massive container ships, jet planes, the internet, and an increasingly globalized supply and manufacturing network are just further evolutionary steps in a process that has been going on for the past 5,000 years. If we wish to understand today's rapidly shifting patterns of global trade, it serves us very well indeed to examine what came before. So for those of you who find history fascinating, you should love this book. For those of you who do not, it's actually a really handy book in many ways, almost more so for people who are not that interested in history. Because as you can see, it's a pretty long book, but it covers so many different things. A very long period of history, and it covers all the different continents. So whereas some books might cover, say, the scramble for Africa and just colonial history in Africa, and then you might read it and go, well, what was happening in South America at the time? This book doesn't have that effect. If you're someone who's, maybe you're not that into it, but you see how valuable it is to learn it and you really want to know more about it, then I think this is the perfect book for you, because it will go into the whole history and all the different continents. And then if you find something you want to know more about, you can look into that. But this is a great way to immerse yourself in it. And it has a lot in it, whether you're someone who knows about history or does not. It covers a lot of ground and will really get you into the subject. And it is written in a detailed way, but also a way that's engaging enough to keep you interested and keep you reading it. So I would highly recommend it. It's a very important subject to understand trade and colonialism and this international system that we have now, which is in many ways not that new. So thank you for watching the book show on Diversity Television, and I hope you will join us next time for more books and opinions. I'm Ava Colopy in Ireland, and to all our readers, I hope you find what you're looking for.